Hey y'all, my name is Kayla and welcome to my cozy chaotic corner of Booktober. And what I am attempting to do for the month of October is to share with you a different book for every single day in October. I do want to give the caveat that these are not daily vlogs. These are books that I have read in the month of September and I am now presenting to you in the month of October. I may be a little bit off my rocker, but I'm not so far off my rocker that I am delusional enough to think that I could literally read, film, edit, and upload 31 times in a row. I just wanted to give that little disclaimer right off the bat, just so you guys don't think I'm Superwoman. Because while I do have my talents and skills, reading a book every single day, especially with a 9-to-5, is humanly impossible for me. With that noted, in today's installment of Booktober, we are delving into Everything the Darkness Eats by LaRocca. I do want to note that I spoke about Everything the Darkness Eats in one of my book hauls, and one of you lovely people did leave a comment that this book is very triggering, and they recommended to look up the trigger warnings to this book specifically for people who are within the LGBTQIA community. So I wanted to give that disclaimer to y'all as well. While I have started reading this book, I have not finished this book at the time of filming this intro, so I don't truly know what all the trigger warnings are, but I will definitely include those trigger warnings after this intro so that you guys are aware of the subject matter that we'll be discussing later on in the video. First and foremost, I'm obsessed with this cover. That was honestly one of the biggest things that drew me to this book, was just the shiny black on top of the matte black, and it's all just black. I just need, can every book be like this? Can every book just be black on black like this? But let's find out what Everything the Darkness Eats has to offer, shall we? An insidious darkness threatens to devastate a rural New England village when occult forces are conjured and when bigotry is left unrestrained. After a recent string of disappearances in a small Connecticut town, a grieving widower with a grim secret is drawn into a dangerous ritual of dark magic by a powerful and mysterious older gentleman named Hart Crowley. Meanwhile, a member of local law enforcement is tasked with uncovering the culprit responsible for the bizarre disappearances, soon begins to learn of a current of unbridled hatred simmering beneath the guise of the town's idyllic community. A hatred that will eventually burst and forever change the lives of those who once found peace in the quiet town of Henley's Edge. If you're scared of the dark, grab your flashlight and let's delve into Everything the Darkness Eats together, shall we? Okay, y'all. First and foremost, I just want to apologize for the state of my office room, space, bedroom. Not that it really matters. I just had no intention of filming this morning, but I woke up this morning and I just finished Everything the Darkness Eats by LaRocca. And typically when I do these videos, anytime I talk about a book, I usually let the book sit with me for a while, but I really want to start another book, and I feel like this is a type of book that I can't just start another book without talking about this book. So I would like to I know about myself, even as I'm getting emotional. I would say most things that trigger people don't trigger me. And I think also the word trigger is so overly utilized to the sense you may not like something, but it doesn't what is it necessarily triggering, right? So I'm not going to say that this book triggered me in any capacity. I would say that this book deeply disturbed me. And it's hard to say in a good way. This is not a bad book. It's not I don't even know how to, I genuinely don't know how to speak to this book. I feel like other people could speak to this book far more eloquently than I could. After reading this book, I completely understand how this book could be heavily triggering. I just want to make note of that. I don't even, like, I could talk to the very blatant trigger factors of SA, physical violence, torture, but I would say that if you have any intention on reading Everything the Darkness Eats by LaRocca, if you are the type of person who looks up trigger warnings, look up the trigger warnings for this, because this was dark and this was twisted. And the wild part about this book is that it delves into a higher power. At the end of the day, the higher power, while it is used against people, it also is what ends up, I guess you could say, saving the day. This book, I find, heavily is commentary on the atrocities of mankind, because the most volatile, egregious, disturbing acts in this book are committed by mankind. Mankind that has power that is given to them by those around them, and mankind that has power that's given to them by paranormal higher beings. So it's just a matter of what you do and choose with the powers that you're given. This book bounces around from two different parties. It's with Malik, who is a cop and is a gay man, and then there is Ghost, who just lost his wife. He himself, I think they were in like a car crash or something, and his wife passed. He survived, so he's dealing with like the repercussions of how his body and also his mental state. I would say those are kind of like our two main characters, but of the two, I would say Ghost is like the main character. Throughout this entire book, Ghost is dealing with the turmoil of losing his wife, and not only his wife, but his wife was pregnant at the time as well, so obviously like the loss of the possible future that he would have had. I don't want to tell you guys too much of like what actually happened. I know this is uncommon of me to not be like, this is everything that happened in the book, but I feel like so much of this book was so grim that it's hard to just be like, this is what happened in the book. Throughout the entire book, Ghost is thinking about his wife Haley, and he's told that he has the chance to bring his wife back from the dead. While he's initially told that by a corrupt human being, you have this one opportunity to have whatever you want in this moment. And he chooses to, I'm just gonna read the sentence. It is like literally towards the end of the book, so this is like, I guess, a subtle spoiler. It's not like a spoiler of like everything else that happened. So he knew in his heart what he had to choose. He asked to spare to stop his bleeding and reach inside his mind to confiscate every horrible memory of his suffering. And that was the part in the book that like I was like, oh my god. Like, you know when you just have a moment of just chills, like full body chills, but like in a good way? After everything that happened in this book, it was like the breath of fresh air you needed, because this book was so heavy and so disturbing. Like literally that moment and everything after that moment. I'm glad the book had a happy ending, because I'm not gonna lie, when we were here, I was convinced this book wasn't gonna have a happy ending. I was so convinced this book was just gonna end horribly, but it does have a happy ending. One thing I will note though, the prologue we start with, I was like, I don't know, I was really excited for this book after the prologue. Just the prologue, just an FYI, the prologue, this is a horror book. The prologue has a pretty brutal start to it. And I don't know, I was expecting more of that. And we didn't get that. Heavy commentary on just the corrupt brutality of mankind. That's what I took away from this book. I don't know if others took that away from this book, but that's what I took away from this book. And now I'm gonna go find something light and fluffy to read, while I have a stack of horror and thriller books behind me that I have to read. I've heard so many people, not so many, but a handful of people recommend Eric LaRocca and say they enjoy his writing. So I also enjoyed his writing. I just think the context of contents of this book were a little depressing. So if you have any other recommendations for Mr. LaRocca, I would gladly take them. Yeah, I'm very interested to read more of his work. I think this is a book that's not talked about often, or I haven't seen talked about often, because it's so heavy. But if you have read any of Eric LaRocca's work and you have any recommendations for other pieces done by him, please let me know. This is, yeah, I need to like read something light and fluffy now. Yep, that's where I'm at. Okay, I don't know how else to end this video, so with that, I'm just gonna say, have a great rest of your day, y'all. Protect your peace. Look up trigger warnings if you ever feel like you need trigger warnings when it comes to books. And I will see y'all tomorrow.